In the heart of 19th century France, a quiet yet radical shift was taking place in the world of art. Gone were the grand myths and heroic histories. In their place emerged something more immediate, more intimate, an art of everyday life. And at the center of this transformation stood Edgar Degas. Though often associated with the Impressionists, Degas was never one to fully align with any movement or label. He was a watcher, precise, analytical, and endlessly curious. Rather than chase the fleeting shimmer of light, he studied form, gesture, and the quiet poetry of repetition. His work reveals not just how people move, but how they inhabit space, how they practice, wait, prepare, and simply exist in a rapidly modernizing Paris. Degas' vision was rooted in both tradition and innovation, a balance that would define his legacy as one of modern art's most complex and enduring figures. Edgar Degas was born in 1834 into a well-to-do Parisian family. Though expected to pursue law, his true passion from an early age was drawing. That passion led him to the École des Beaux-Arts, France's leading institution for academic art, and to countless hours copying Renaissance masters in the Louvre. His early admiration for artists like Ingres shaped his deep commitment to line, structure, and draftsmanship, elements that would never leave his work, even as his subjects changed. Unlike many of his contemporaries who embraced spontaneity and outdoor painting, Degas brought a classical rigor to the depiction of modern life. He was, in many ways, a traditionalist with a modern eye. As Paris transformed, physically through Haussmann's renovations and socially through industrialization, Degas found his true subject in the everyday. By the 1860s, he shifted away from historical painting to focus on scenes of contemporary urban life: the opera house, cafes, racetracks, milliners' workshops, and domestic interiors. But Degas did not romanticize the city. Instead, he observed it. He drew inspiration from photography with its candid, off-center framing, and from Japanese prints that flattened space and emphasized composition over illusion. His paintings captured not just appearances, but the quiet rhythms of modern existence, how bodies carried tension, how people occupied space, and how moments passed almost unnoticed. This observational style, marked by restraint and nuance, became his signature. Of all his subjects, Degas is perhaps best known for his dancers. But rather than focusing on performance and spectacle, he turned his gaze behind the curtain. His works, the ballet class, dancers practicing at the bar, the star, reveal dancers not as ethereal creatures, but as laborers of grace. He depicted them stretching, rehearsing, or waiting between routines, showing the strain and repetition that lie beneath the illusion of effortlessness. In these works, Degas was less interested in narrative than in gesture. Ballet became for him a laboratory of movement, a way to study the body in flux, the contrast between discipline and fluidity, and the human cost of beauty. Degas also portrayed women in more intimate settings, bathing, combing their hair, or preparing for the day. Works like Woman in a Tub, Edgar Degas, 1886, present the female form not in poses of seduction, but in candid, often unguarded moments. He once described this perspective as looking through a keyhole, a metaphor that speaks to both his artistic curiosity and his emotional detachment. These works have sparked debates about voyeurism and the male gaze, but they also reflect Degas' attempt to capture the body as it truly is, unpolished, anatomical, and real. Rather than idealize, he studied. And in doing so, he redefined the portrayal of women in modern art. Outside the studio, another subject fascinated Degas was horse racing. Much like ballet, racing offered a convergence of form, motion, and anticipation. Paintings like Before the Race and Racehorses in Front of the Stands don't dwell on speed or climax, but on the moments in between, the calm before the gallop, the silent tension of waiting. These works reflect the same sensibility we see in his dancers, a keen eye for posture, tension, and movement held in suspension. Whether human or animal, Degas sought to understand how bodies moved through time. Though Degas exhibited with the Impressionists in 7 of their 8 group shows, he remained something of an outsider. While Monet and Renoir painted outdoors to capture shifting light, Degas worked almost exclusively in his studio, emphasizing draftsmanship and preparatory sketches. He used color and light with daring creativity, but never without control. "No art was ever less spontaneous than mine," he once said. "What I do is the result of reflection and study." So while his subjects mirrored those of the Impressionists, modern life, fleeting moments, his approach was more methodical, more sculpted. He stood with them, but not among them. As Degas aged, his eyesight began to fail. But rather than stop working, he adapted. He embraced pastels, which allowed for richer color and softer texture. He experimented with monotype printmaking, producing haunting, shadowy images that feel both ethereal and raw. And most famously, he turned to sculpture. Little Dancer of 14 Years, made of wax and dressed with real fabric and hair, stunned viewers when it debuted in 1881. The sculpture was lifelike, yet unapologetically ordinary, a stark contrast to the idealized bronze figures of the time. It challenged expectations of beauty, youth, and what sculpture could be. Though many of his wax models were cast in bronze only after his death, they reveal an artist who was constantly evolving, seeking new ways to express the essence of form. Edgar Degas died in 1917 at the age of 83. Reclusive and uninterested in fame, he left behind a body of work that has only grown in significance. Today, his paintings and sculptures are housed in major museums around the world, from the Musée d'Orsay in Paris to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. He is remembered not for grand manifestos or political provocations, but for something more subtle. His relentless observation, his fusion of classical technique with modern subject matter, and his deep sensitivity to the physical and psychological presence of the human form. Degas didn't seek to shock the world. Instead, he asked it to look again, to see the beauty in rehearsal, the poetry in preparation, the truth in ordinary moments. In many ways, Edgar Degas was a paradox, a modernist rooted in tradition, a quiet observer with revolutionary impact, a master of movement who rarely left his studio. Through line, color, and composition, he taught us to see not just how people look, but how they move, wait, work, and endure. He painted not performance, but process. Not the moment of climax, but the stillness that surrounds it. And in doing so, he left us a vision of modern life that remains as poignant and powerful today as it was in his own time. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment below which artwork resonates with you the most.